Okay. Also, just to give a little bit of preface, they're talking about direct economic stimulus and why Dan Crenshaw is opposed to people receiving them.
But that moment is special because there's value in suffering. And in today's society, we have convinced ourselves that there is no value in suffering, that the entire role of, say, government is to end your suffering. But this is a false promise. Not only is it a false promise, but it will create a weak society that is unable to sustain itself. That's a really important point, and I think there's deep truth in that. This is why victimhood politics is so dangerous, and I would say populism is too. I think the two.
Okay, before we get into the populism thing, because it's untenable. Every other developed country affords their citizens direct stimulus during the coronavirus. Every other developed country affords their citizens a universal healthcare system and a social safety net that far exceeds ours here. This is not a culture of victimhood or asking the government to come in and give us everything. It's basically the bare fucking essentials that you can expect from a taxpayer system.
And these fuckers here being like, there's value in suffering. Like, get the fuck out of here. You could, like, get the fuck away from me. Like this dude, like, I'll wait. I'll save this. But anyway.
Who are almost indistinguishable from each other. People are always trying to talk about populism on the right and the left. And I say, look, well, here's what populism is. It's telling you what you feel. It's mirroring your feelings back to you. It's telling you what you want to hear as opposed to the truth. So that, I think that's a decent definition of populism. I don't like it. I don't like people embracing it.
By the way, people that have to resort to completely disingenuous definitions of populism like that, the reason why they have to do that is because the policies that they support and advocate for, like the Afghanistan war, have a 30% approval rating. So rather than say, I'm not a populist that's not at all representative of the belief of the American people, they then have to smear populism.
Yeah, it also supports shit like the fucking $1 trillion tax cuts.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, the deficit, guys. We owe all this money to China so they can fearmonger, get us into another fucking war with China. Anyway.
It doesn't just mean, hey, things that are good that people are for. Well, you know what? A lot of people are for $1,600 checks that are free. That doesn't mean it's a good policy.
Right.
That's a good example of
populism.
populism.
People voted. If they voted and said, do you want $100,000 free a year?
Totally.
Everybody would vote yes.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Pause this one more time for me. Dude, just because this is the same man. This is the same fucking man who's like, I remember one of the last episodes of Joe Rogan podcast I listened to was with Eddie Wong. Eddie Wong is a writer I really like. Maybe he's problematic and I don't know about it, but I fucking like him. Okay, he wrote a couple books I really like. He's on there and he's like, Joe, like, I'll come on your show. We don't agree with each other on everything. And Joe's like, what don't we agree on? And he's like, oh, you told me I was crazy for supporting UBI because Eddie Wong was holding it down for UBI before Andrew. And he's like, oh, you convinced me on that. I'm totally for UBI. And now he's giving this like fucking completely bullshit. Yeah, I guess if you give everybody $100,000. Yeah, no, that's what we do for fucking corporations, except it's not $100,000. It's trillions of dollars. You fucking idiot. And it's so bad faith. And you have all these stupid fuckers on your podcast so that you can continue to grift, so that you can move to Texas and you want to pay less federal fucking taxes on your $100 million. It was probably more like $200 million from Spotify. And also this is the same motherfucker that's like, oh yeah, I think we should suffer. Are you suffering with all that fucking money? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you not see how fucking hypocritical and just broken all of this shit is?
It's crazy that he's talking about $100,000 when his fucking salary is $174,000 of taxpayer money that he's getting to represent opinions that are not even fucking popular within his own constituency, which again is why he has to smear the even very concept of populism. It's insane, the argument they're making.
Policy, and of course not.
Of course not.
And the kind of amounts to the I think drastic lurches in welfare policy or infrastructure spending and all of these things that we've
completely devastated both of those projects in this country. By the way, there's no welfare or infrastructure.
That's not truth. That's not truth. And we have to get back to truth, and we have to get away from this victimhood mentality where we actually elevate this idea of being helpless. See, that's what's changed. That's what's changed.
Can you believe this is literally what Republicans are trying to sell people? Like, you just don't accept any help from the government. Just be powerless and pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Like, seriously, in 2021, they're still going with pull yourself up by the bootstraps in the middle of a fucking pandemic and an economic depression. Like, they seriously think that shit's going to be popular, which again is why they have to smear the concept of populism, because they're the opposite of populists. They represent corporations, not fucking people.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. We can watch like a minute more of this fucking drivel.
In the last decade, it used to be that, well, you might feel some shame if you were the type to, you know what, I need some help. I feel bad about it. I'm going to get back on my feet, but I need some help right now. That used to be the sort of American way. All right. We need a safety net. Nobody would disagree with that. We need a safety net. We need to help people who have truly fallen on
You
hard
would
times, who lost
fucking
their jobs
disagree with
because
that.
of COVID.
Yeah. And again, like to whatever, if you agree that we need a safety net, then what is the value of a net that fucking 60 million people fall through? Like, that's not a very good fucking net. Like, would you not agree that that's a net that needs some repair? Like, what the fuck?
40% of the fucking country can't afford a $400 bill, you jackass. That's not a fucking safety net.
Yeah. This is, like I said, I don't even want to fucking keep platforming this drivel.
It's fucking disgusting. It makes my blood boil. Gavin sent me the link. I listened to I got about as far as when he's talking about how like suffering is good and like blah blah blah. And I was like, I mentally was just gone for most of the clip as it played on my
And
television.
again, how can you support a candidacy of someone who was proposing to expand the social safety net and then come on and nod along when this fucking jackass
don't believe anything?
Yeah, no, he really doesn't. He really
doesn't stand for fucking a thing, dude.
No.
And it makes me so mad because people love to treat this guy like he's some visionary, like he's and you know what it is? And it's something that I admittedly, let's just take accountability on the left. One of the things that I think the left really needs to do better, because we're letting assholes like Dan Crenshaw and Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson vacuum up all of this real need, this emptiness in society. There needs to be understanding that like a self-improvement for the collective, right? Because a lot of people fall into the trap of listening to these assholes because they feel so helpless and so disoriented and lonely. The only thing that they feel like they can grab onto is this idea of like, oh, it's me against the world, right? And that kind of coarse individualism is what breeds this kind of thinking, right? And what we need to do is offer a superior alternative from the left, where we're saying things like, yes, of course, you can improve as an individual, but you want to do that to enhance the collective, right? And you don't need to do that at the expense of the collective. It's not you against the community. It is you along with the community advancing everything, right? And I think that that's something that we as commentators on the left and we just as everyday people who want the left to succeed, if we want to stop losing people to this faux right-wing fucking horseshit, solve it by yourself and fuck everybody else. If you win, that's the goal. Like, get money, fuck all, like kind of the American way, right? We have to be able to provide a more rational alternative to this, because that's what sucks people in. And then they get exposed to this constantly and there's no pushback. And they trust Joe Rogan because he told them to get into ketosis and conquer their inner bitch and sprint up mountains and fucking all that kind of horse shit. And then the fucking toxic kind of politics start to unfold. I'll never run for fucking office. You can put it like Zac a million times. But thank you for the support.
But yeah, no, it's really genuinely crazy. And I would say, like, you know, maybe it's a good thing that the Republicans are being this openly classist and elitist and cruel, essentially, because then it makes it easier for Democrats to win. But in reality, that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is it's going to make it easier for Democrats to do less. Now the bar's even lower. You know, if Republicans are saying, don't give any checks, complete economic austerity, complete, you know, let the bottom 50% of this country just fucking die and starve, then the Republicans just going to say $600, and then they get applauded. Because, you know, if you listen to Dan Crenshaw there, you would say like, oh shit, the Democrats, Joe Biden does sound good in fucking comparison to that shit. Like, at least they are in favor of the concept of one stimulus check, where this asshole is literally saying no one should get stimulus checks, I guess, except for the very most desperate poor people. So it's really fucking disgusting. Thanks so much for that super chat, David. David, we really do.
Yeah, and one other thing, just before we move on, from this kind of, I guess, I don't know. I think the thing the thing that it comes down to, right, is that even as through all of the like disingenuousness of it, we do have to reckon with the fact that for whatever reason it is effective, right? It seems almost like it's like a contagion.
You mean this economic libertarianism shit?
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I think is because it's so well funded and propagated by the Koch brothers and corporate interests.
Everybody that talks about this shit on YouTube, and I just use that because I know the analytics of YouTube. I look at our analytics all the time. I understand, like, and then I think about other people who are putting this shit out, like Dan Crenshaw, like Steven Crowder, like Ben Shapiro, like all these guys that are just like, and the mass of people that they are reaching, guys, it's crazy. So I think that it should be high priority that we figure out how we can more effectively offer an alternative to this, because it's really this is the kind of shit that that's not good.
And well, you're right. We do need to counter this argument. You're right. We haven't even countered this argument. If you don't give people money, making people victims of poverty is not going to increase their productivity or increase their optimism or will to live. It's going to defeat and crush them. People can't operate effectively as human beings. They can't perform at their ultimate state and level if they're starving, if they're barely scraping by. That incurs a massive amount of anxiety, depression, exhaustion. It basically reduces you to your least productive state possible. It truly does. And anyone that doesn't understand that has clearly never been in that situation. So it's truly the fact that anyone buys into this shit blows my mind, because I feel like to buy into this shit, you literally have to be insanely rich and privileged, again, because anyone that's actually struggled knows that, like, when you were worried and sick over trying to pay medical bills, it's not like that was when you were at your ultimate artistic potential.
Right, we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is something that we've understood for a long time now, right? And anybody that's like a working class person knows that. I mean, like, I would love to do a fucking experiment about like fucking cortisol levels in individuals, and like just take a fucking regular working class Joe off the fucking street and measure the level of cortisol, which is the fucking stress hormone that gets released when people are stressed the fuck out. I bet you it's off of the fucking charts, dude. Yeah. Even if you just did a random sample of a person that works like a wage job, punch in, punch out, you're paid hourly.
Stress literally kills people. Yeah.
Yeah. 100. I think it's fucking ridiculous. So, I mean, there's so much need, and just one more reason to just address the specifics of why Dan Crenshaw is so horribly wrong. We've seen the fucking results. We actually know what happens thanks to what happened in California, right? In Stockton, California, they gave out people UBI. They did the test. Yeah. In America, this isn't Spain. This isn't another country that you can do a whataboutism and talk about how it's completely irrelevant to the United States. No, this was in an economically depressed area of the United States, the US of A. And what did people spend their fucking stimulus money on? What did they spend their, UBI on? Debt, fucking groceries, fucking gas, regular expenses. If they weren't making ends meet, if they had extra money, it was going to things like paying off debt. That was what they found. The number one thing. Okay. So it wasn't people running around naked, jerking off in the streets. Okay. Because, I had $1,600. Now I have enough money to still starve. Right. If I didn't have another job. Right. There's, nowhere in America can you live, even remotely well off $1,600 a month. So it's not like people aren't going to work, though. That's what people like Dan Crenshaw love to fucking postulate and be like, oh, nobody's going to work if you give them any fucking money. Like, go get out of here. But it's those things like that. We're not even, is it just obviously a bad faith projection? We actually know it's empirically not true. It's been evidenced in today's date right now.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. And also it's insane that, again, this guy is, fancies himself a capitalist and all this shit. And he doesn't even understand the basic principle that giving people money means they're going to spend it and participate in capitalism, which will stimulate the economy. Like, that's a fucking conservative argument right there. And it applies, but he's too fucking stupid to even realize that, because, and that would actually be a politically popular, salient argument. But again, he's so dumb and bought off that he doesn't even realize that. And he probably genuinely believes a lot of this shit, because he seems like a product of Ben Shapiro himself. He really does seem that fucking stupid to me.
Yeah, I mean, they're all, after a while, right? If you get paid to believe and parrot something for so long, you're just going to start to take it as fact, because it's easier for your brain that way.
Yeah, and again, this guy gets $1,740,000 a year of taxpayer money to have a fucking easy job where he gets to wine and dine with a bunch of other elitists and basically do nothing while he pretends like he's important and powerful. So disgusting. I'm disgusted by Dan Crenshaw. I think it's, says a lot that certain people on the right consider him the future or the new face of the new right. If that's the state of the right wing, then